Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy Friday.
And welcome to Surreal Estate. I have Steve Divney here with me today. I'm super excited. He and I serve together on the Parks and Rec Foundation, and he's a huge asset to San Carlos in terms of his civic involvement. But also, I would say his greatest contribution to our board is his crazy sense of humor. He
It's a
keeps
high
our
bar.
meetings lively, huh?
It's a high bar.
It is quite a group. It's a lot of fun. But Steve is a big part of why it stays interesting.
Yep.
We may see a little hint of that here and there. I gave him free reign to cut up a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Thanks for joining me. So our residential market is kind of chugging along and no huge differences from last week. So I'd really love to just take advantage of having Steve here so we can use that time that way. So obviously in the commercial space, it's so different from residential, for sure. I know nothing about your world. Tell us about how pandemic life is affecting the retail space.
Sure. I think it's really dependent on what you as a commercial broker concentrated on prior to the pandemic hitting. For instance, if you were 100% or majority retail, doing restaurants and shops, then the pandemic has really adversely affected your business. There's just hardly any transactions being done because people, because of the restrictions, can't open a restaurant and be at full capacity for inside dining. And then there are regulations around, and some of which have been lifted, around what you can offer, when you can offer, like drinks to go or not. Now, most of that those restrictions are gone now, which is great, but you're still not getting the throughput you had pre-COVID.
Sure.
And a lot of restrictions, like in the city of Belmont, which were recently lifted for restaurants, finally allowed restaurants to be able to use part of their parking lot for outdoor dining.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in that restaurant space, it's really tough. We're seeing a lot of restaurants just not make it.
You know
And
what's funny, Steve, is I saw Drake's is opening up right on the corner of
I did
El
that
Camino
deal.
and San Carlos Ave. I'm like, what?
Yep.
How can you open a restaurant right now, right?
Yep. We represented the landlord and the tenant in that deal. We did
Okay.
start the process well before COVID hit.
Okay.
So in fairness to that group, they knew that there was going to be a runway, getting it permitted, getting it built out inside. It's really exciting. The gentleman who's opening it's a local youngster. He must be
Oh,
30 or something. Uh, Christian. He's a local family, grew up here, grew up in the business for the last 11 years between sneakers at different levels, sneakers, the restaurant, at different levels. And he's going to pay homage to a lot of former restaurants and current favorite restaurants in town. For instance, there will be some items on the menu because it's going to be mostly breakfast,
yeah.
but he's also doing drinks in the afternoon, uh, so breakfast and lunch. But he's right at the train station. He's super young and energetic, and they're going to have things from Vic's restaurant, which I don't know if you remember. Vic's was literally a few doors away.
I do.
Where, yeah, it's where
Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Pepper is now, and Vic's opened in 1976. And when I got into town in 1995, they were still going strong, and they had that diner appeal with lots of breakfast foods, and that's my favorite meal of the day, breakfast. So we're really excited to have done that deal, but
Yeah.
it's not at the pricing that was pre-COVID, and that's just part of the reality.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of it is dependent on how deep a landlord's pockets are, whether they want to wait out this, and if they can wait it out.
Yeah.
And some landlords are giving some concessions to their existing tenants to try and help bridge that gap
Yeah.
to normalcy. Who
Yeah.
knows what normal is going to be or when, right?
Mhm.
So
What about the other
uh,
factors?
I would say also brokers who concentrated representing office tenants,
Mhm.
they're pretty hurting. There's not a lot of activity. I would say the baseline of activity for office tenants is if they had a renewal going, they may plow through and do that deal, but there's not a lot of new activity out there. So that's one area where the pay through on rents has steadily decreased from pre-COVID, when they were in the 90% paying rent, 90% of their tenants paying rent, to a couple months into it, they were 70%, to June, July, August, they're down below 60% of their tenants paying rent. And if you have millions of square feet in your portfolio and you're a large real estate investment trust, that's pretty hard to do. I mean, even the office I'm in right now is over in Redwood Shores, and it's part of the 8 million square feet of office that's out there. There's not a lot of cars in the parking lot at all. Yeah. But if you're in life science,
yes,
the pay-through rate has remained consistently in the upper 90% through the whole pandemic. So you take a large REIT like Alexandria, who's relatively new to town, and they'll be increasing their footprint here in town, and we can talk about that if you'd like a little later. They've maintained a 98+% pay through across their 30 million square feet nationwide.
Wow.
Including in the Bay Area, what they have.
That's astonishing.
It truly is. They are the group that's actually building the 2 towers up against the freeway in the 800 block of Industrial Road. It used to be called Meridian 25 when Windy Hill Development came in and permitted it. The Alexandria folks came in. They got a new skin for the exterior. As you can probably see if you go through it, it's spectacularly beautiful.
Oh, wow, cool.
Very high-end, contemporary, good clean lines. They have this really boutique architecture firm, Iramoto Scott's, up in San Francisco, who did the exterior. It looks kind of like fish scales if you get to squint your eyes maybe. But beautiful project. That's 560,000 square feet between the 2 towers, and 80% of it's been leased out. So we're going to have some new life science tenants moving in there. I was fortunate enough to represent the Kelly Moore site in its sale to Alexandria. They're 12.5 acres over on Old County and Commercial right here in town.
See, this is why I called Steve, because he's got his fingers in every deal in town.
So that deal closed during COVID, and that combined with the L3 site, which is basically at Commercial Street and Industrial Road, will give a very large campus over 25 acres for Alexandria to do another life science project. And if you don't mind, I know you're a big fan of sharing. If you'd allow me to share a map, I could put some of this in perspective for the folks.
Thanks,
okay, great.
Go for it.
Here we go.
Okay.
Let's see if the magic works. Is it
right.
working?
You did it.
It is working? That's fantastic. I'm going to move this map over here so I can see it. Okay, so let's see. We are not there. Okay, so we got Holly Street. You can see that where my cursor is. Just give me a nod if you can see
I don't see your cursor.
Uh-oh.
I know where Holly Street is, of course, but I don't.
Thank goodness. You wouldn't be in real estate otherwise.
So,
okay, so you can see the San Carlos 5-year history.
Yep.
Okay, so by the intersection of Holly and 101, there's an orange dot. You see it? That first orange dot is the Marriott. That went in play in 2013 and then got through and got built. And that's a nice 203-room facility that, if you haven't been, it's really beautiful.
I haven't been in, but I have friends who stayed there, and they said great things.
Yeah, it's nice and clean. Even during COVID, I stayed there during COVID a couple nights. It was fantastic.
Cool.
If you go along Highway 101 down towards the next orange dot, okay, now that is a project that is done. That's known as the Honda sales lot, right?
Yep.
They took an old Praxair site and put a new building on it and have been selling Hondas out of there. It is under contract right now. breaking
Wow.
news. A life science group may be looking at taking over that site. So the city
Really?
will lose some retail dollars, but they're going to get an improved property on top of that.
Okay.
Then just to the right of that is a yellow dot, and that's a project that's almost ready to go before Planning Commission and City Council. That's two lots on about 2.5 acres, and that's proposed to go from 56,000 square feet between 3 buildings, single-story concrete tilt-up, to 200,000 square feet, matching the height of the blue dot next to it, which we discussed as the Meridian 25 Alexandria project now, called the District. This would be one building with underground parking and would be also life science as well. So that could be a beautiful project right up against the freeway, doesn't go any higher than what's next to it,
Yeah.
and would be a sleek, modern design as well.
Remind me what the height is of the Meridian 25.
To the top of the stacks, it's 106 feet.
How many
And those
stories?
are their ventilation, that's 6 stories.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 stories. And if you go, you know what? I neglected the little yellow dot next to San Carlos Airport.
Notice
That's a project that is redoing the existing airplane hangars.
that.
And there's a small 2-story, 20,000 square foot office in the front, and that's going to be redone as well. So we're going to have some nice, new, modern, really good-looking project for airport hangar rentals, and then they're going to replace the existing, really old 2-story office into something really nice.
Is that where you keep your jet?
Yes, it's a little model airplane. And don't start singing G6, that's another song. So, okay, going back to our side of the freeway here, the western, southern side, if you will. The blue dot we referenced before, that's the 2 towers, 560,000 square feet of life science. Okay, that's almost complete, and like I said before, it's about 80% leased. And then as we go towards Industrial Road and Britain, there's a yellow dot on the corner. So that parcel used to be Keen Kitchen and some new Life Chiropractic and a couple other shops on a 2-story wood building. That, if you drive by there or go to Office Depot, you probably see that it's scraped in the parlance, which means the building is down. That was slated to be a Hilton, I think a 164-room Hilton.
Okay.
That's no longer the case.
No.
Guess what it's going to be? I'm going to give you 3 guesses, and it starts with life science. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but what do you think is going to go there?
Life sciences?
How did you know? Life science. Yes. It's going to be about 140,000 square foot life science building, and a new developer is coming in to do that. So that will begin construction pretty soon.
Okay.
So again, that's scraped right now and ready to be built on. And then coming towards El Camino, there's would you call that magenta or fuchsia? What is that?
I was going to go with purple, but
I like purple. Let's go.
It's more like magenta.
You know what? We're going to, for those of you who have young kids, we're going to call that Tinky Winky or whoever. Who was the purple one, Teletubby? I don't know.
Never did that.
Are they even a thing now?
It's not a thing anymore.
Sorry, my kids are older now. So that project is going to be, take a guess.
Life sciences?
How did you know?
No.
You know commercial. Yes, it is going to be incubator space for life science, and that's it's almost complete as well. Okay, so life science is the destination for San Carlos, or I should say San Carlos is the destination for life science. There's another yellow dot that's next to it. Any guesses?
Life sciences?
More than likely. That's 2 acres. It's a Mercedes-Benz parking lot right now. They're in process to do ground up development there for life science project, more than likely.
Okay.
Okay. And then if you follow the other yellow dot, it's just one dot on Commercial Street. You see it there?
Yep.
That's the the combined Kelly
Right.
Moore L3 acreage. It goes along the creek, and so it's bordered by the creek, commercial, Old County, and industrial. And that's where it's going to be, probably including the parking structures, about 2 million square feet in a couple
That's
of different
huge.
phases.
That's huge.
So it's huge, and it's all contemplated in the general plan update, which the city did about 8 years ago, called General Plan Update 2030, real catchy name. But that's part of a periodic update that, I'm sorry I'm geeking out on you. For those of you who don't know me, I was a planning commissioner here in town for a number of years, so I love this kind of stuff, all the development and the ins and outs of how you unlock value for your clients if you're representing them, or for just property owners around town. So that's going to be a big long-term project in 2 phases. They're in the very preliminary stages right now.
Okay.
So there's some runway there to be had. We're going to do the 3 other dots here. I'm going to kind of gloss over those a little bit. So the yellow dot, that's right by Morse and Laurel Street.
Mm-hmm.
That came before Planning Commission just actually in August, and that's Jim DePaula's hair place, right there on the corner, just down the street from Refuge.
Yep.
So
across from the 1001 Laurel building.
I think it's called Headliners.
Oh yeah. Oh, I saw a sign up there the other day.
Yeah. So that's slated to be an office building. I think about 14,000 square feet, and they'll probably be coming out of the ground here sometime in the spring, summer. But that'll be nice to have some new office space in and around downtown.
Yeah.
And then further down the street towards Cherry, that's actually a building that's already built, up and leased. One of your competitors is there on the ground floor. That's the Dwell building, First American Title.
My good
right
friends
on the corner from your world headquarters. So that's a 2-story building that was built and leased up, and I think it's a great addition for downtown. And then the dot way up over yonder towards Belmont, that used to be the San Carlos Hotel, but it's going to be a Hyatt.
Okay.
And, they're going to have close to 100 rooms, I believe, and they're well under construction. Okay.
Awesome.
So all of this is available at the City of San Carlos website, and here's just an overview. On your left, the 777 Industrial Road, that's the Honda dealership. 800 East San Carlos Ave, the Marriott Hotel. The Transit Center, well, that's the Depot Cafe and all that. We didn't really talk about that. We just talked about this project here, 644 and 668. That's Sneakers and the gelato place, etc.
Gelato.
Well, yes, it's delicious. And then
we're not actually seeing the list, Steve. We're still seeing the map.
Oh, you are? It's not scrolling down?
No.
Uh-oh. Here, let me try something else.
Okay.
Watch this. Woo! I'm getting seasick. And now are you seeing it?
No.
Darn it.
That's okay.
All right.
We've gotten a really good sense of it.
All I need now is for a dog to come in or something. Where's Jeffrey Toobin when you need him? Sorry. Okay. Screen share's done.
That was awesome. Really helpful to see all the new, with all the life sciences here. I mean, it was so centered in South San. Is that? I mean,
so
are they?
They're still going gangbusters, and they're adding millions of square feet up there as well. What Alexandria is doing, and I don't want to make this sound like a commercial for them, but they are a large, well-capitalized real estate investment trust, and they've always been ahead of the curve. They were in South City and Emeryville well before a lot of other players were, and they are tying in not only with Berkeley, but with Stanford as well. So having property here in San Carlos as well as Palo Alto really provides a tie-in for some of their companies, because it's all about where your talent's coming in, where those grants are, et cetera. It's all about that intellectual property, and it's fertile ground to develop.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. I'm going to pivot. So, as we mentioned earlier, we met on the Parks and Rec Foundation board, and I didn't know any other boards you serve on, Steve, but it's kind of a long list. And I was just curious about how that came about, and like, why is that important to you? And was it modeled when you were growing up?
Yeah, I grew up in northern New Hampshire in a very, very small town. So my parents wore multiple hats. In addition to running their own business, a gas station grocery store, there was the JCs, the Kiwanis, the Masons, the Little League, the PTA, everything. So in a small town, that's what you do. And one of the reasons my wife and I, she grew up in Los Altos, one of the reasons when we were looking up and down the peninsula, we wanted a small town look and feel where volunteerism and roll your sleeves up, hometown days, art and wine fair. I mean, all these great events and functions. And so that was definitely in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So I love doing that. I mean, you gotta give to get.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love it. It's fantastic. You're inspiring me to find something else to do. Because I really need that. But
yeah, exactly.
I'm a little shamed by your list. I was like, oh, I just have one on there. But anyway, well,
I just good organization. So I mean, San Carlos. I'm going to plug San Carlos Elms. It's hometown care with a great professional look and feel, but it's hometown, and that's very San Carlos. And for those of you who don't know the Elms, it's assisted living and a memory care unit right there by the library, close to downtown. It's a great asset to have in town.
What are the other boards you serve on?
Now I've narrowed it down to just the three: the Parks and Rec Board,
okay,
the Elms Board, and the San Mateo Credit Union.
Okay.
So that's another.
When you need to update your bio on your webpage.
All the dates are on there. It's not false advertising. Yeah, San Mateo Credit Union is fantastic. They're heavily involved in San Mateo County Strong. If you don't know anything about it, you should really check it out, especially during COVID. It's a fantastic resource for the community.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Steve, thanks so much for joining us today and
pleasure. Letting
us know about all these awesome new developments and ways to get involved in San Carlos, ways to keep San Carlos strong. I love it. Thanks again. Have a great weekend, everybody. This is Surreal Estate.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.